Hey y'all, welcome to At the Table podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. My name is Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ear. In today's episode, we are met with Temitayo, originally from Nigeria, came to the US to pursue an MBA, and now he is a data consultant in one of the world's largest finance management firms. Temitayo in this episode is wonderful. We talk about everything from entrepreneurship to technology to consulting, and specifically what that looks like within the financial industry. This episode is perfect for someone who is considering going into consulting or is thinking of or probably already is in consulting and is thinking of a different type of consulting. And this episode was just wonderful. Grab a seat, grab your chair, and are you ready? Welcome to At the Table podcast. Welcome, Temitayo, to At the Table podcast.
Nice to be here.
Yes, it's good to have you here as well. Temitayo, in this podcast, I just want to learn about who you are as a data consultant and get deeper into that world and understand what that world looks like and what your world looks like. Are you ready?
Yeah, of course.
So, David, what is your story?
What's my story? Nigerian, and I think, a lot of our listeners are going to be able to pick from my accent. I migrated to the United States about a decade ago, minus actually like less than a decade ago. My undergrad was in biotechnology. I moved here. I landed at Dulles, I still remember vividly when I landed. I came here for my MBA. And after that, I decided to delve into technology. So I enrolled within the data analytics bootcamp at GWU. And that was what bettered my whole journey within the tech or whatever my professional life is right now. I currently work for a very large multinational, a very large financial organization. And I sit at the intersection of finance, strategy, data analytics, and real estate. A pretty exciting role. Maybe down the line I can delve deeper a little bit into that. I also sit on the board of a nonprofit, which is very dear to my heart, so the Treatment and Learning Center, a very large organization, been in existence for donkey years. What we do within the nonprofit is we provide a variety of services to kids and individuals with disabilities. We have like the house care services. We have the Catherine Thomas School. We have, occupational therapy, a bunch of services that aid, the whole community, especially the demographics of kids with disability. So, I enjoy soccer. I love golf. I'm excited about the weather. So, yeah, I hope I'm succinct, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
that
my
was
story.
really good. That was really good. And for our listeners who may not be familiar, could you explain what a data consultant does?
The specifics of the role might differ, from company to company and industry to industry. So I'll give an overview of what I do in my role, a data consultant, data analysis and interpretation, a little bit of risk management, financial modeling, compliance, strategy development, performance measurements, and maybe data governance, cybersecurity. So it's kind of a little bit encompassed. So that is what my understanding of data consultants or a data analyst within any industry would do. Then for me, in my role within the financial sector, like I said earlier, I sit at the intersection of, finance, data analytics, strategy, and real estate. And what I do is I and my team will leverage data to make more informed decision making, improve processes, and maybe gain competitive advantage over our competitors. So We would also maybe identify trends, patterns, insight within any kind of data that we're working on, depending on the outcome of what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. Oh, I'm curious though, from Nigeria to US, what inspired you to pursue your master's degree here?
Um, yeah, I think it's been a dream in to put it in the simplest term. I've always felt I wanted to get an advanced degree, and I felt the destination was the United States. I don't want to say I come from a disadvantaged socioeconomic background, but I can also say, like, in terms of where we are, in terms of rating, I'm from Nigeria. I love Nigeria, but, we still have a lot of things to catch up on. And I just felt like, I wanted to step out and, see more from the world, travel, get exposure, learn new things and stuff like that. The US was the destination for me. Yeah, yeah. So I wasn't surprised after my undergrad, after my National Youth Service Corps, that I found myself in the United States studying.
Like, how was your master's? How was you going through your MBA program? Why did you do it? What encouraged you to do it? And how was it?
It was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting. It was enlightening. First is you would understand the gulfing difference between the educational systems, both back home and right here. To contradict myself again, I also think the success I achieved during my academic tenure, during my academic times, during my MBA course, was because of the background I have, like the way we were kind of like nurtured. We were not spoon fed. I'm not saying like people were spoon fed here, but
Yeah.
it's just a different system.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised when my lecturer give us like some kind of like a handout, like we should go and read that. That's where it's gonna ask the quiz question for the next quiz. I'm like, it's like I don't know if I don't want to say there's one thing we call Joe
Mm-hmm.
in Nigeria, like like an expo. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're basically giving me the questions we're not used to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I only had a B um
That was your least
all through
grade.
my yeah,
Mm.
only that was my least grade.
Mm.
So I think it was because of that background I have from Nigeria. And I was not the best student in Nigeria, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that background did set me up for success here. So, but back to the question, I think it was pretty exciting. I was the president of the students' union. Like I said, I've been in leadership positions. I had leadership meetings. I felt woefully in in that particular space actually, and it made me understand that there are different things about leadership, not
Mm.
just of and above, whatever it is. So yeah, it was exciting. I'll just
David, you sit at a very interesting intersection between technology and business. How do you see this world evolving?
um
Especially with things like
I
AI coming, especially within your specific industry. How do you see it evolving?
I think if you want to go into it, I think you're just gonna dig into an abyss here. Um,
Literally.
we're not gonna finish it. But I mean, I think technology and business, the intersection, I think it's gonna deepen. And again, if we now bring in AI, bring in automation, bring in
Mm-hmm.
data analytics as a whole, it is going to deepen. Earlier today, I was in a class on cloud computing, and I was I'm just, the lecturer was talking about how Spotify, Netflix, how they make use of cloud computing, the scalability that it kind of offers. So I just think the intersection will continue to deepen. I think it's going to optimize processes. I think it's going to increase efficiencies. And I think it's going to make us better as a professional, as individuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Next question. Could you share a specific project or initiative that you have done or participated in that you found rewarding? or just one that sticks out to you, whether it was rewarding or challenging? And what did you learn through that experience?
I won't be able to go into specifics because of my employer.
Yeah.
So I can give an overview.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything I do is a little bit challenging, and I think it's rewarding. As a professional, I think the bulk of everything lies in how you feel at your role.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been privileged to kind of like embark or take part in initiatives or projects that makes me feel like, yeah, I'm a big part of this organization. So one of them is scenario modeling. So let me give a breakdown for people that don't understand. Scenario modeling is when you want to model different outcomes for a particular project or initiative. So you let me give a rough example. So you want to travel. I don't know if this is going to be a good example, but you want to travel and you have a lottery, you have a lotto or whatever thing. I don't know what those things are called that you can play. Is it lotto or lottery, whatever it's
Mm-hmm.
called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you're told like, if you take this route, you go to this place, you're probably gonna make this lotto might win you 500K. If you take this route, you go to this B, this lotto might win you 600K. If you take this route and you go to this route, this lotto might win you 100K. So three different outcomes, but the path to different outcomes are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the project, depending on the things we're discussing, or depending on the initiative, we draft out those scenario models to see, okay, if we do this, what are we gonna get?
Yeah.
Most times it's in terms of dollar saving. So how much are we gonna be saving? And we're talking about millions of dollars here. How much are we gonna be saving? How much are we gonna be spending? How much is this gonna cost us? Stuff like that. So that's some of the things I've worked on. We call it
Mm-hmm.
scenario modeling. Another is our payback model. We call it ROI model. So return on investment. So when the firm makes an investment might be in terms of real estate or maybe in terms of labor costs.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we want to run a ROI model to determine when we're going to be making a return on those investment. Is it going to be in 2 years? Is it going to be in 5 years? What is the annual run rate savings? What is the fiscal run rate savings? What is the fiscal savings? There's a lot of things that goes into that. So those are projects that I think are very interesting that I've worked on within my role.
Okay. Okay. Well done. It's so good to hear you talk about the accomplishments that you've had in your career. Because I don't feel like people talk about like their successes in their career. And now I'm wondering, what advice would you give to young people who want to do very well in their career? What have you seen has helped you? And what would you give to someone else?
What is young? Let me ask you that.
Let's say they're sitting within the first 10 years of their career.
Oh, okay. Because I think young is relative. I think the minister of youth in my country is about 50 years old. I, I'm not sure about.
Those ones are the ones that refuse to get old.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we look at the political landscape back home,
It is true. Yeah.
50
It
is
is
young
relatively
because,
young.
they are
Yeah.
80s, 90s before they get to
Oh my goodness.
the peak of their career,
True.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would speak in terms of what I know, what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think persistence, consistency, and being ready. I don't know if, and I can break the three down. So I'll speak on being ready later on. And persistency, I think you have to be able to find a balance. You don't want to be persistent that you get in trouble. And I think because the nature of the kind of people we have as a nation, especially I'm talking about me being a Nigerian, we can be sometimes, we can be very persistent, but we also need to be able to find a balance, that middle ground, to understand when you are overreaching. So, but I think it's very good to be persistent in what you want, and consistency is key in anything. Then being ready. The reason why I don't know if it's a skill, but I just think it's something that has helped me or maybe transformed me in some way, form, or shape. I have a friend, and he would tell me, shout out to Fash, his name is Fash. He would tell me that this was about 15 years ago or 15, 12, 10 years ago. He would tell me his dad would say that there is nothing like luck. Preparation meets opportunity. Are you ready for the next opportunity? So if you just start, somebody tells you like, "Oh, I need this thing," and that's what you're interested, but are you ready? So I just think, persistence, consistency, and being ready. I think if those are skills, I think that's one thing I would encourage young professionals to develop.
Thank you. That was really good. I really like the preparation meets opportunity. Are you ready? I've even written it down. That was really good. We've spoken before this, and we've spoken at length about the power of networking and how networking has impacted your life. And you seem to be really good at it. I also wanted to pick your brain on if you had any tips about networking. Well, what have you learned through networking? And also, if you have any tips regarding networking and the importance of it.
Yeah, I'll speak on the importance of networking. I'll speak for myself first. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, coming from a very modest family in Nigeria, from a very, so like, I don't want to say disadvantaged socioeconomic background as well. I really have no one to run up to when it comes to getting gigs, when it comes to knowing how to do things. I'm the first son. I don't know if you understand what way or how that weighs on me. I don't know if you know the responsibility. Nobody,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be my parents. Nobody's telling me, "Oh, do this, blah." No, I'm honest about it. But I just think you just rise up to the case yourself. And I had no one to run up to. I do not have an older brother. I do not have an uncle or cousin or anybody to guide me. So I had to resort to mentorship. And I was only able to get that was the only way I was able to get that was through networking. So uh, I came with a plan. I
Mm-hmm.
came with a plan. I started attending seminars, conferences. Shout out to the National Black MBA. That was the platform that kind of gave me everything I stand on professionally. Um, through that I met Mama Richards. That was my first mentor. Amazing woman, connected me, then I met Dr. Yeli Aloko, who has been a phenomenal mentor to me as well. You know, then I met Crystal Ward, Jason Simons. These people have really, really shaped me. They've really helped me. And the only reason why I think most of them have also been willing and able to, help me is because I was ready. Like it goes back to what I said earlier
Yeah.
on. I didn't go to them and sounded like I didn't know what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I approached them with, confidence, with, tact, and I spoke. I made a request, and let me make it clear. It wasn't everybody I spoke to that was responsive at first, that all that wanted to help me, So it's not a one day thing. It's a continuous thing. But you have to be ready. You have to know what you want. Seek out these people. You can be lucky. Some of them are just gonna, you know, fall on you. Like for instance, to be honest, like my very first mentor, I wasn't even looking, but she was just an amazing woman. And again, shout out to Maya. So yeah, just be ready, be bold.
Mm-hmm.
Ask. If you don't ask, no one's gonna,
Yeah.
at one point I was looking for someone to mentor and nobody was approaching me, and I felt I had so much to offer because I wanted to pay back what people are giving to me. So just ask.
Yeah, that's really good. I am also a product of my mentors. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the backbone that I have today. And it's something that I constantly tell young people that they should find mentors. What is that saying? I can only see so far because of the shoulders I stand on. And that's me as well. My mentors are the people who have made me. My mentors and my parents are the people who have made me single-handedly. So thank you for talking to that and really just putting that out there, because I think that that's a very important point that I definitely want to make sure we get across in this episode. So with all that you do, being in nonprofits, working full time, and still having a life outside of that and doing sports, how do you manage your time how do you manage your time between your personal and professional life?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to debate. So, oftentimes when I'm meeting with, people maybe for whatever reason, maybe on coffee or we're just chatting,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, do you believe in work-life balance? It's a very controversial discussion because some people feel like your work should not take your life, right? Some people felt like, yeah, what's the word? The buck has to stop at your desk. I forgot. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like you want to be the go-to person, and sometimes it comes at a price.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality. Yeah. Sometimes I work over, past 5. My job is 9 to 5, but I've been on my PC weekends. Nobody's telling me to do it, and maybe it's also because I don't have a lot of commitment in terms of like my personal life right now. So I'm able to navigate that. I don't know what that is gonna look like in the next 1 or 2, 3 years. So I can't really speak to that much, but I just think whatever works for everyone, they should do it. And depending on your objectives and goals, you know what I'm saying? So,
Okay, but what works for you?
what works for me, like I said, I don't have much commitment in terms of my personal life. So my work has taken like my primary time. Like
Ah,
I
okay.
go, I go to work 9 to 5. Sometimes, like I said, it's above 5. Sometimes it's less than 5, right? And I just do it. But if I have something to do after 5, I give it that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm very flexible as well.
Do you believe in work-life balance?
Definitely, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you need to have a balance in everything, not just work life balance, not just in everything. There needs to be a moderate balance in how you juggle the responsibilities of your work and your day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
But because like I said, I don't have much commitment in terms of my personal life, so it's not making me really have a very candid view of what it's gonna look like when I start having commitment. I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. That makes perfect sense. To me, I'm a huge advocate of work-life balance. I don't like being scatterbrained, and I don't like feeling like I need to be everywhere at once mentally. I think it's very, very overwhelming. So I have created systems in my life to be able to accommodate for a busy schedule, because I truly, truly do enjoy being busy. I like doing work and I like doing
Mm.
good work. But with work, I also have a business, and I'm also going to school, and I also maintain a personal life. And what I have seen that has worked for me tremendously is being very, very good with organizing my time, being very, very
Yeah.
organized with my schedule and not playing with my schedule, not playing with my time. I have also I'm trying to successfully cut out all of the fat, quote and unquote, in my life. So I mean like social media, things that I don't need to be doing, because like I just thought it was crazy. I would literally spend like 3 hours on TikTok, and I'm like, what the hell? And I have work to do, and I'm sitting here on TikTok for 3 hours. Instead, I could be using that to talk to my parents, at least doing homework, like something. So because of the way that I'm able to manage my time, I'm able to create balance because I'm making sure that everything I need to do is done in a good manner. And that has then been able to create for me a good balance, work-life balance. But had not had that, oh my goodness, I would actually I don't know what I would do. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's all about you. You have to figure out what works for you. And it is very, very, very important. And it's interesting. I don't think people teach these things at all, how to manage your time. It's a huge skill, and it's so individualized, so individualized. It's insane.
You're very right. Just talking about organization, I just realized like I write down a lot. Like especially on even if I'm going to change my oil, like I'm trying to service my car, I have to put it down. Like right now I'm just remember, oh yeah, I didn't put something down. And that allows me to be able to juggle my day-to-day responsibilities.
Oh yeah.
And again, I also make use of my calendar. You
Mm-hmm.
go understand. So I think somebody was telling me the other day, like, I'm acting like an old man because I'm like, if it's not on my calendar,
I'm not doing it. Yeah.
I don't even know if it exists. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, come on, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It has to be on my calendar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important. And good job on the organization. I think it's a good skill to have or develop.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're coming down to our last few questions. It's actually very interesting how this podcast went so quickly. In our conversations, you've mentioned DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion advocacy that you do. So I'm wondering, how important is DEI in your life? And then how do you integrate it into where you work? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. So DEI is not something let me say, it was not part of the plan. It was just, to me, I say DEI is a labor of love.
Yeah.
Someone has to champion it. Like I said, coming from a disadvantaged socioeconomic background, with this thick accent of mine, there is you just need to do it. I think that's it. You need to do it. I'm fortunate enough to be to lead couple initiatives within or with my current employers and on the organization I sit on, which are two remarkable organizations. But I lead couple initiatives in regards to D&I. And it's pretty rewarding, especially when you start seeing the benefits or like the implementation of the strategies or the things you're working on. You see them come into fruition. So, like I said, it's a labor of love. The goal for me is to, set up a space or the platform for the next Temitayo that is going to come into the US or the next Black person or whatever it is, to be able to go into spaces they are disadvantaged or, systemically, what's the word? Like
Marginalized.
Marginalized. That's a better word to use, things like that. So it's not DF for me now is not just an initiative. It's a part and parcel of me. It's what I continue. It's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to be an advocate. And I encourage everyone listening to this podcast to be a champion, to be an advocate, to be an ally. You know what I'm saying? So thanks for bringing up that question. That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh no, it's so important to me. Initially, when I had started this podcast, I did not know I was going to be doing interviews. I'm actually very, very introverted. But it dropped on my mind that, wow, growing up here, our parents were primarily caregivers, but we didn't have any type of representation of our parents in other places. Of course, that's not the case for everyone, but for me, I didn't see too many Nigerians around me that were in professional industries who were even now talking about their experience within these professional industries. So I was like, okay, I know a lot of Nigerians who are doing great things. I want to be able to spotlight them, showcase them, and show them to hopefully younger Nigerians or Nigerians who are kind of navigating that space as well, to show what is possible. Like, yes, you absolutely can be a data consultant in one of the leading financial companies. And absolutely, you can be able to navigate those spaces just as you are. It's okay. So that's why like this podcast is what it is now. And it's so amazing to be able to speak to all of you industry leaders and people who are truly making a change and be able to share your stories as well, because it is incredible what you're doing. So thank you again.
Oh, I'll give it back to you. Earlier in the beginning of this conversation, I told you I'm a fan. And I think I've told you during our very private chat, I'm a big fan. Keep it up. Yeah, just keep it up. It's a privilege to be on here again.
Mhm.
Just let's continue to do. Let's build a community. Let's continue to help each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Let's connect. Let's grow. Like I said, collaboration, and we can move further.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Thank you. We're going to go on our last two questions. And I'm curious, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I kind of like I was kind of like rambling my head and see, I'm thinking, what are the kind of questions you might ask me, stuff like that. I felt this might come up.
Mm-hmm.
And genuinely, nothing really seemed to come up. I'm not saying, I'm not saying there's nothing to work on, but I'm not saying like if I could run back time, I would have done something differently.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's one thing I would have done, if I'm to talk, I would say compounding. Compounding is, doing things younger, doing things earlier, and it's very
Yeah.
compared. People think compounding is just in terms of investment or finances. No, well, even skill sets. You want to compound a,
Yeah.
a 10 year in the industry and 1 year in the industry, regardless of how genius you are. Believe me. So I think there will be some golfing difference. So you want to compound those skill sets. I wish I had been in tech since I was 21 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Different things. I don't know what it is for you, but I think do things earlier.
Yeah.
Time is for no one, and
Yeah.
let it depend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a quote that's coming to my head. It's people overestimate how much they can do in 1 year and underestimate how much they can do in 10. Compounding work is incredible. I think I've heard in places that it's like the fifth mystery or whatever, because it really does show and it really does come to fruition and is able to stand on its own as an identifiable marker of success. Starting early is very important. Not saying if you start late, you're not going to make it, like it's fine, but at least you get to make those mistakes, learn, and the costs are lower, whatever. So yes, I completely agree. If there's anything that also I'm trying to continue to model, I think it's the importance of starting early. And you're never too young. You're never too young. You're never too
Yeah,
inexperienced. You have something to bring. You have some type of value, no matter where you are and your perspective. That was a good one. Thank you.
yeah, that's right. And like you said, not everybody's going to be opportunity to start early. I think
Mm-hmm.
I got into the corporate professional world a little late, and it's beyond me.
Yeah.
I moved here after my first degree. It took me a while to adjust to the system, to get out of college. So, but if you a chance, if there's an opportunity for you to start early, do not
Mm-hmm.
wait for another time.
Thank you. Now, last question. What are some goals or aspirations that you have for the next 5 to 10 years, both professionally and personally?
I'm going to be a little bit tight-lipped on
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm doing.
yeah,
Yeah, for private. I'll be a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
I
tight-lipped,
know.
but I'm going to go. Well, I'm going to speak to them. So the first one is professionally. So I want to have significant. I want to be able to measure and see significant growth in
Mm,
terms of value, in terms of remunerations, in terms of impact, in terms of title within the next 5 years.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm gonna just keep it as
yeah.
broad as that. Then for personally, yeah, it's personal. So personally, it's personal, but yeah, but I would,
Yeah, that's good.
hopefully hopefully I start, I have a big family, or maybe it's whatever. I'm a man of faith, so I'll let that play out itself.
Mhm.
So that's one. Then I'm very I'm very big on giving back.
Yeah.
I'm very big on giving back. And one of my goals, I speak into existence and working towards it. I think it will come to fruition. I know it will come to fruition. Is to give back uh, a very big chunk of money. When I say big, and the hundreds of thousands to a non-profits as a donor.
Mm.
I I don't know. I don't want to mention, but like a very big chunk of money. So
Mhm.
it's a pledge. It's one thing I love to do. So yeah, I think those are my those are my aspiration goals within the
Oh.
next 5 years, 10 years.
Oh, that was so good. Especially as a professional developer, nonprofit development. It really touches my heart for you to say that. That was really good. Thank you.
Of course, of
Thank you.
course.
Now, I did not tell you the truth. That wasn't the last question. I always sneak this last question up on people.
Oh, that was a good one. Okay, 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 okay.
The
Let's hear it.
final last question is, well, do you have any questions for me?
So I used to, I would usually have questions, but I didn't know it was going to be some sort of, the interview format. Okay. Well, let me brainstorm. I have one. So one is why did you choose to interview me? First, like I said, it's a privilege, but what made you decide to interview me? That was my first question. And the second is, what as a collective, what do you think that we need to do or we can continue to do to continue to develop, uh, young, college students or uh, young girls, young boys coming out of, high school, to put them in the, to put them in the path, or to allow them to see that there is it's an ocean. Everybody can fish, and there's more you just need to do one or two things, and you can set yourself for success.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we can do as a collective?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna answer your second question before I answer your first one, okay? And what I believe that we can do as a collective to be able to truly make an impact in young people's lives is to start building more nonprofits, literally, and more nonprofits specifically targeted towards intentional empowerment. We've spoken before at length, and I say I'm a product of my mentors, which is absolutely true, but I actually have mentors who started the nonprofit that I am very, very closely affiliated with. Well, I have mentors in several nonprofits that have changed my life tremendously. I believe sometimes we expect school and church to teach some certain things that actually truly isn't in the jurisdiction of school and church. But sometimes it is those implicit things that school and church are not teaching that are the most important. As I mentioned earlier, time management skills, etiquette, networking, how to talk to people, how to ask questions, active listening, how to manage your finances, what a 501c3 is. All of these things that are soft skills that maybe people don't think are important, or they're implicit skills of the things that are within the jurisdiction of school and church, right? That are not being directly taught should be taught somewhere. It should be those skills should be taught somewhere. Those skills should be honed in somewhere. And I don't think the school or the church is ready to pick up those type of things. But I think a nonprofit that is led specifically for the goal of empowering young men and young women would change the world. I love nonprofit work. I work in nonprofits now because I do believe that they're God's foot soldiers. And I'm just hoping that us as a generation and as young people, specifically young Nigerians, we start to build a philanthropic leg as well, not only in our own personal lives, but we're also able to advocate for philanthropy within our professions as well and what we do, because I believe that nonprofits are doing really good work.
Yeah. Thanks. I think that's an insightful answer, and I agree with you. I don't think we should leave everything for just churches or let's say religious organizations, for
Mm-hmm.
schools. I think, within our own capacities, we should also, speak well, positively encourage people. And yeah, I'm just, for anyone listening, Fika, if there's any way you want us to collaborate on this, on this kind of, initiatives, please feel free to reach out. So let's make impacts.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. Now, the question that you asked me, the first one, you asked me, why did I decide to interview you? Well, David, we had spoken one night, and from that first conversation, I just knew you are the type of person. I am very, very picky with who I bring on the podcast because I need to
Thank
be
you.
able to vouch for said person. And I also need to be able to see to be able to say, this is the impact this person is making and this is their value. And not only their value, but I can speak and see their hard work. And also, there's this feeling you get when you just know that someone wants to win, someone wants to do well. And what made you also very unique was your your dedication to lift also as you rise. That was so interesting. I didn't expect that with you, but you were also so enthusiastic, so determined. And I just knew like this is someone I absolutely want to have on the podcast, but also in life be able to have as a friend, as a partner, as a resource, because I do think that you're going to change the world. And if there's any
Thank
way
you.
that I could help or align myself with said project or even be a part of it, I would want to. As we've mentioned, this life is about networking. And if you go with other people, you go further. I am absolutely also looking for people who I can go very, very far with, very far, very successful and make a lot of impact with. And I think that you're going to be one of those people. So that's why.
Oh yeah, these are kind words. These are kind words, Fikayo. Yeah, I'm speechless. Thank you. I was just curious
Um,
because you asked me the question of to ask you a question. So that was the first question that came to my mind. And like I said
mhm.
again, I'm a big fan. I like everything you do. I know you're gonna change the world as well. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for coming on. This conversation was great. It was very insightful. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I mean, for my what is it? What do you call the first podcast you jump on? No, sorry, okay, this is the second podcast. Okay, but for my second podcast, this is pretty exciting. This is great conversation. Great conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.